Wouldn't it be awesome if you could get laid every single night and actually have your woman initiate it? Well, that's the dream of almost every man on the planet, and while the stigma tells us that women often say no, you can make her be the initiator. You see, women aren't just giving it away to receive love in return. No, women desire intimacy just as much as men, but they often use this as a tool to get what they want in a relationship. So how do older men make women initiate sexual intimacy without having to sell their souls?
Fearless Forge.
Number 1. The attraction of dominance. For starters, older men are already dominant, and they understand the polarity between masculinity and femininity. You see, regardless of what you've been taught by your friends or your parents, a dominant man radiates sexual desirability, and this is what women want if they want to initiate intimacy. In fact, it's not that hard to be a dominant man, and just to make things clear, this doesn't mean that you should be a dick to other people. Dominance is actually described as a man who can take responsibility, and when it comes down to making decisions, he can choose to make the right decision over whatever emotional choice she wants to make. Once that dominance is established, you'll find her doing more things like wearing lingerie and even doing subtle things that aim to initiate intimacy. This will come from a purely feminine place, and you'll notice it immediately. Number 2, be a little kind to her as well. Now that you understand how to become a dominant man, you also need to balance this out by being kind to her. If you manage to add kindness to your relationship dynamic, she'll feel like you're comfortable to talk to, which significantly increases trust. What happens next is that she'll talk about what's going on in her life, and you'll be the person that supports and motivates her. Women tend to bond deeper with a man who supports their goals and spurs them towards success. She'll even become clingy, as very few men can replicate this kindness without seeming weak. Once she notices that you truly understand her, she'll want to naturally repay your kindness. You might be offered a massage occasionally, but since you're now a kind man, she trusts you, which means you might be surprised with a romantic date at home that leads to intimacy. Number 3, learn to say no. If you want to truly create desirability in the long run, you need to understand how to say no in the short term. You see, women never get rejected, and it's the one thing they fear over almost everything. This will create a little bit of insecurity in her, and she'll begin to chase you even more. However, there's a catch, and this is that when you reject her, you should have an absolutely solid reason for doing so. This could be due to working late or being busy with something else. If you reject her because of nothing, she'll start pulling away, and this is when she doubts herself. Women like this often seek validation elsewhere. You see, the moment you make her work for your intimacy, she'll be more open to it more often. Much like buying a new toy, if you play with it too often, you remove some of the novelty and things would just settle into a habitual routine. It's often due to this routine that sexual intimacy in the relationship dies down. Number 4, make yourself desirable to women. The next one takes a little bit of work, but you'll see the massive payoff in the end. You see, the only reason why celebrities never have an issue with their wives being intimate is because they're extremely desirable to other women. They know that another woman is waiting for her to mess up, and many men also have this same insecurity when dating women. The thing you need to understand is that there's no room for extreme comfort. The moment she settles into a very comfortable situation and you allow yourself to regress, she'll lose desire and interest in you. This is what happens in the proverbial married couple syndrome. The key is that she should always know that other women desire you, and while you will never act upon it, it's something she should have in her mind. It's for this reason that many older men try to stay in shape, and they often work out to ensure their sexual desirability remains high. Let's face it, the moment your partner is more attractive than you think you deserve, you'll be constantly trying to fight for her and get her in bed. Once you become the person who looks more attractive, she'll be looking to tie you down by means of sexual intimacy. Who can say no to a well-built man radiating confidence and dominance? Number 5, being blunt and honest. One of the worst things you'll come across when you see men flirting at pubs and bars is when they use passive-aggressive tactics like Barney Stinson to get women into bed. Yeah, the Barnacle was a great fan favorite, but these techniques will never work in the real world, and if they do, you might need to send her for an IQ test. You see, older men realize that they have so much going on in life. When they're rejected by a woman, it simply doesn't matter. They focus on not attaching their happiness to the answers she gives him. Once you realize this, you can be upfront about what you want, and when you're in a relationship, you can simply tell her what you want. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that you need to establish at least some form of mutual attraction. If she doesn't find you attractive, you'll get shot down and called a pervert. Many studies have found that when a guy is direct, he tends to get what he wants. She'll respect you and understand her part in the relationship. So how will she initiate sex in such a situation? Well, she might become more playful and build some sexual tension, feeling she needs to slay the beast. Number 6, creating comfort and alleviating stress. Now, a little bit of anxiety isn't bad, and when you listen to former CIA spy Andrew Bustamante, you'll hear him say that anxiety is a superpower and creates a little bit of healthy paranoia among people. However, this paranoia should only be about whether or not she's going to leave you. She should never be in a position where she's stressed out about whether there's food on the table or a roof over her head. This is often where many men fail, and some of the older, more experienced men have figured this out. The moment you can provide a woman with stability, you've completed the biggest challenge of any relationship, and this is what women crave on a primal level. You'll notice that when she becomes comfortable with the survival aspect of her life, she'll be more inclined to initiate sexual intimacy. Psychologists have found that when a woman feels secure and doesn't need to worry about the survival element, she begins to thrive in her feminine role. This feminine role brings out her primal desires, and since she doesn't have any fears, she'll constantly try to seduce you while you're doing your masculine duties. Number 7, you need to understand just how superficial women are. This might come as a surprise to many of you, but when you look at women, you'll notice that many of them are highly superficial. If she doesn't need to do something hard in order for her to survive, she'll want more and more. This is why they often say that diamonds are a girl's best friend. Once her needs are met through providing shelter and protection for her and her possible offspring, she'll want to make things beautiful, and most importantly, she'll want to make herself beautiful. In fact, many women never exit this phase, and when things are tough, they would leave you for another person that provides it. So if you realize that women are superficial, why are you still sharing your deepest feelings with her, and what do you hope to gain in return? The book Atomic Attraction actually backs up this point, and the author even suggests that cognitive attraction is more important to women than men. So you need to reverse the way in which you deal with things. Instead of sharing your feelings with her, focus on ideas and how you're going to improve things. Your weaknesses and insecurities can be shared with your friends that you truly trust. These will also be the people who can provide you with tangible advice on how to become a better person. To see this in action, you can just take a trip into the mind of a psychopath, and you will immediately realize that these insensitive men often flirt and discuss ideas with women. It's for this reason that psychopaths are arguably the most attractive and sexually desirable people on the planet. Granted, it's extremely hard to spot one. Number 8, women want to live out their sexual fantasies. Once you master the art of doing your masculine duties that she desires, she'll want to start to crave every part of you, and this is when you turn into her sexual fantasy. While you're already the person she's sleeping with, some men understand that for her to fully initiate, she needs to be fulfilled. Once she feels fulfilled, the quality of your intimacy will increase, and she'll do anything to make sure you're happy. This is also to ensure that you never leave her for someone else. Combining all these traits will allow you to have your own form of sexual happiness. It's time to bury the stigma that men should always initiate, and with these psychological tips, you are the one who has the power. But make sure that you also check out this next video on how to make her wet for you. Every forger should be great at getting laid.